Land and water in our Ohio communities. These are the driving forces in our economic infrastructure and our most valuable resources for the future. The way we use our land affects our water, with decisions that will determine the strength and the health of our businesses, our communities, and our people.
Developers are becoming more and more sophisticated. We're in a time that requires that because buyers and communities are more sophisticated. In the 50s, you had matchstick housing going up willy-nilly. People found out that didn't work. I think what happens is we've learned from our mistakes. It's a continuing education process. Developers understand that unless the land is valuable and the water is valuable, their real estate becomes less valuable.
Protecting your water quality locally from runoff, from pollutants, from sedimentation, not only improves your own community, but it helps the entire state of Ohio.
In Ohio, people are talking about best local land use practices, from elected officials and community members to planners and developers, from our largest cities to our smallest towns, helping us see the vital connection between our land use, our water resources, and our economic future.
The best thing about the best local land use practices is that they are not just about environmental protection. These practices have been shown to reduce the cost of development and to greatly enhance the quality of the community, the quality of property values, and simply create great places where people want to live and work and play. And that ultimately is going to lead to a prosperous future for our region. Compact development is a best land use practice that allows us to focus development through higher densities, mixed uses, and creating great, well-designed, quality neighborhoods. And it allows us to focus development where it belongs, where infrastructure exists, and avoid the need to spread development out into outlying areas where there's less infrastructure, the costs are higher, and the resources are there to be protected.
We decided to revitalize our older commercial areas. What we're doing here is tapping into existing utility lines, existing infrastructure to create a new development. You're adding significant value to your tax base when you're revitalizing the areas and you're building new properties using your existing resources.
To build a townhouse, which has a lower footprint and is typically more vertical, your construction costs are a lot less. Here you've got just under 4 acres of land that was yielding little to no tax value, and now it's got $16 to $18 million of tax base. That's a win-win for the city.
This neighborhood was clearly overlooked and frankly declining for 30 years. DeSales Flats is a 76-unit market-rate apartment project, maybe 6-7 minutes from downtown Cincinnati, from the University of Cincinnati, from 9 area hospitals. The neighborhood understood that these were infill sites, that additional residents in the neighborhood were good for the retailers, so they were behind us from start to finish, and that was a huge plus. In return for being a LEED project, the City of Cincinnati has legislation on the books that gives us a 15-year tax abatement on the property, and that was a huge incentive for us to consider building here.
Infill development has 2 major impacts in a neighborhood. One, in most instances, it's remediating a blighting influence that was there before, but probably more importantly, it shows that that neighborhood has a market for new development and denser development that then creates additional development opportunities in that neighborhood.
Brownfield sites are particularly desirable because it affords you large footprints near urban areas that you couldn't possibly assemble at any reasonable cost. And so for us, it's an absolute cornerstone of what we do. Our project, Harrison Park, it's 345 units when finished. In addition, we built a pool, a community center, and we donated 3.5 acres to the city for a park. So what we see here is a collaboration between neighborhood wants and developers' needs. It's sold very well, and so it's been a real sweet story for us here.
Not only do you address a potential environmental threat to an existing neighborhood, but you also take a piece of property that has a negative cash value and you turn it into a positive, as well as bring up property values in the entire neighborhood, and it stimulates more construction.
Conservation development, stream and wetland protection, and stormwater management practices are all best local land use practices that can be implemented to help to enhance the quality of development, to ensure the quality of water resources while we're developing, and to create that balance of conservation and development within a community.
We took conventional zoning, got it changed to what's called planned unit development zoning, which allowed us then to proceed into what we call the conservation development. This project is approximately 260 acres. Out of the 260 acres, 133 acres of that are preserved as open space. Within that framework, we've laid the land plan out, which is locating the roads, the houses, cluster housing, and the ponds, to preserve this wetland, to preserve the open space, to take advantage of the aesthetics of the site, to minimize the grading, to concentrate on protecting the watersheds. This is just a great place to live. People like it, so it becomes an attraction for the community.
When we bought the area, part of it had been farmed, part of it has still been natural, and they had a great lake on it, and some other natural settings, and we were able to intertwine with the wetlands and the development. We have a combination of single-family homes, condominiums, and also apartments. And then we had an area that we also have zoned for commercial and for retail. The reason we developed the way we did, some of it we were forced to by government regulations and by certain restrictions. You have wetlands restrictions you have to meet, you have certain other guidelines you have to meet. On the other hand, certain parts of it work out as far as giving us a niche in the marketplace and also giving the consumers something more of what they want and they couldn't find elsewhere.
When we look at Ivy Trails, it really defines this portion of our community. It was integrated very well into the surroundings, and it's something that really has been a boom to the housing values in the surrounding area.
With restricted lot sizes, we did not have to get into extra infrastructure, roadways. We basically built on top of the ridges, and by doing that, we were able to save a lot of the natural attributes that were on the property when we found it. So even though we've gone through a major correction in the housing industry, Ivy Trails has outperformed many of the regional sites because of the natural beauty and the respect that we showed the site while developing it.
Fieldstone has 171 homes, 2/3 of which front on some of the open space. That open space in this development was structured by the developers to protect the historic farmhouse and woods and streams.
We felt that the stream gave the project a character that was already here. We didn't have to do anything. We didn't have to spend money to create something. It was already a great amenity. It made the project unique, and so the builder felt that it could be marketed more easily. Because we've clustered the development in a tighter area, we have less infrastructure to build, and we figure probably that the development cost is probably 25% cheaper than a standard development.
Jefferson Township staff and the Zoning Commission do a very good job of educating developers on what the options are. When they come in with an idea, the staff and commission can sit down with them, talk to them, and say, here are ways you can achieve your goals and also meet the community standards that Jefferson Township has established.
In Ohio and across the nation, green issues are an important part of revitalizing our economy. Now is the right time to adopt best practices in our land use decisions as we continue to develop our rich land and protect our valuable water resources.
The decisions we make right now about land use both affects our current residents, but also residents in the future. We want to make sure that we develop our community in a way that property values stay high, that we protect the environment, and that our residents have a quality of life that they are going to enjoy.
Our key land use challenges is how to make the different stresses on the land and water mix with each other so the water and the land is successful.
As our economy is changing, we got to understand the virtues and the importance of water as an amenity versus an input into our economy. And that means the better off this amenity is, the cleaner, the more we're able to use it, the better and more attractive are we as a place that people want to live and work for years to come.